Hey folks, welcome back to the Investing Iguana. If you're like me, you probably looked at the STI this week and thought, another quiet one. Nothing much going on. But here's the thing. While the index barely ticked up, just 0.34%, there was a world of drama bubbling under those numbers. Sharp rallies, big falls, and new stories waiting to be unpacked. So, in today's episode, let's walk through together the top 5 gainers and losers on the SGX for the week ending 10 of October. We'll dig into what's driving these moves, what impact it might have on your CPF or portfolio, and as always, I'll add my personal take on each one. If you're looking to build long-term wealth right here in Singapore, understanding these big movers is key. Whether you're new to the channel or an old friend, just know, I've spent years breaking down investing in Singapore so you can stay focused and confident. Let's jump right in. First up, the big winners, where the money flowed most this week. So let's start with Bumitama Agri. The stock jumped a crazy 14%, all thanks to palm oil surging on supply fears and weather risks. Now, Bumitama is not just any planter. They've got 180,000 hectares in Indonesia, and their profits can spike when crude palm oil prices move. That El Nino talk, it could mean yields will drop, so global inventories are already tight. With their integrated mills and refineries, they get even more from the commodity boom. And energy costs, those have stabilized too, giving them margin relief. Here's my honest take. This is classic cyclical investing right here. When supply tightens, the most efficient planters get paid. Bumitama has young palm trees, which means they're more productive and a smart approach to mechanization. But palm oil runs in cycles. Price spikes today can mean oversupply in a few years when planters react. So if you rely on CPF dividends, pay attention to how sustainable their payouts are. Personally, I'd buy on weakness, not after a big run-up like we just saw. Next, Top Glove. This one also soared 14%. Investors are betting that after 2 tough years of destocking and squeezed margins, the recovery in global glove demand is finally sticking. Top Glove dominates with 700 plus lines and about a quarter of world market share. Recently, ASPs have started to stabilize, healthcare demand is normalizing, and production costs drop thanks to lower gas tariffs. Plus, there's been some order consolidation which could keep pricing discipline in check. Here's my consultant view. Top Glove is your late cycle recovery play, but momentum chasing here can be risky. The destocking pain seems to be easing, and Top Glove's scale helps during tough times. But the capacity built during the pandemic isn't gone, just idle. I want to see them sustain better ASPs and utilization for a few quarters before feeling confident. For Singapore investors, treat it as a turnaround, not a quick pop. Patience over momentum, moving right along. Propnex up 11%. Propnex's story is one of resilience. Even with new cooling measures and loan restrictions slowing down residential transactions, their huge agent network kept productivity up. HDB resale and upgraded demand is steady, especially in mature estates. Plus, their investments in digital tools like virtual viewings and CRM let agents stay hooked in, even when buyers get cagey. Their commitment to retaining and training agents keeps churn down, and branching into commercial property adds a buffer. My take? Propnex is a beautiful Singapore asset-light play. They make money from movement, not property prices themselves. When times get tough, their scale sets them apart. Smaller agencies just can't compete. The dividend yield is attractive and seems sustainable, so CPF folks should take note. But I wouldn't rush in after an 11% rally. These agency stocks move with each quarter's transaction timing, so slow and steady wins the race. Think dollar cost averaging during quieter months. Next up, Riverstone, up 8%. Riverstone's not just about medical gloves. They're big and clean room gloves for semiconductors and electronics too. That's given them unusually stable demand, since factories need precise, high-quality gloves for sensitive work. Their operations in Malaysia have gotten more efficient, and focusing on specialty products means they avoid the wild swings of medical glove markets. Improvements in utilization and a smarter product mix have helped them push margins back up. Here's what stands out to me. Riverstone is all about quality over quantity. Their stability comes from clean room exposure with tech clients who simply can't afford substandard gloves. That gives them pricing power. The 8% rise feels more real to me than the big jumps we saw in commodity glove stocks, simply because it's anchored to actual operational improvement. Want glove exposure but hate volatility? Riverstone's your bet, but don't chase it after a good run. The best entries usually come when tech stocks look weaker and the market isn't paying attention. By the way, if you want to check out all the reference tables, the visuals, and the full written analysis, I've got everything up on Substack. The link's right below this video. All right, let's talk about the other side, where the pain showed up. SMIC HK SDR 5-to-1 fell 15%. SMIC, China's largest chip maker, just hit a wall with tough geopolitical headwinds and export controls. Competing with TSMC is hard enough, but when the US tightens limits on critical equipment, things get tighter. Their investments in advanced nodes, needed to stay globally competitive, are costing a lot. Worse, demand for electronics is still soft, with global inventory corrections dragging on. For Singapore investors, remember, the SDR structure means you're tracking Hong Kong prices, with currency and liquidity factors on top. Candidly, SMIC is that high-tech opportunity wrapped in almost unquantifiable risk. There are real strengths. China's domestic demand is powerful, but policy can flip valuation logic upside down. At these lows, it looks cheap, but don't get lured into the classic value trap. Position sizing is key. This shouldn't be more than a tiny bit of your portfolio, and only if you're okay with rocky seas. Personally, I wait for policy clarity or steady profitability before stepping in. Next loser, CATL HK SDR 30-to-1, down 12%. CATL builds batteries for giants like Tesla, BMW, and Volkswagen. Lately, EV demand growth has disappointed, and price wars are heating up in batteries. Raw material costs are sticky, and car makers are squeezing suppliers for lower prices. Their ambitious growth means big capital needs, and if global EV adoption slows, there's trouble ahead. Korean and new tech rivals are fighting for share too. Here's how I see it. CATL may be today's leader, but tomorrow, the battery world moves fast. Scale alone isn't enough. The right tech and margins are critical. If you're a Singapore investor using SDRs, patience really matters here. Wait for real proof. CATL can hold margins in a tough climate. The upside just isn't obvious with so many headwinds. Third on the loss list, Alibaba HKSDR 5-to-1, down 9%. Alibaba's getting squeezed by consumer weakness in China, more regulatory attention, and slow cloud progress. Their e-commerce rivals are picking up steam, and the much-hyped cloud division isn't growing as planned. Uncertainty about corporate strategy and ongoing government oversight creates constant nervousness. Sure, valuation looks tempting, but fundamentals aren't moving the needle enough. My straight-up advice? Alibaba is frustrating. It's got true strengths, but nothing's clicking yet. The logistics moat exists, but shifting consumer behavior and unclear policies are major hurdles. I'm sitting this one out until there's firm evidence of a consumer recovery or a cloud breakthrough. There are just easier plays on the SGX right now. Lastly, Cetrium S51 dropped 7%. Born from the merger of Semcorp Marine and Keppel's offshore unit, Cetrium builds big offshore rigs and energy platforms. They're rebuilding their order book, but project cycles mean revenues and cash flows come in waves. Oil price swings and unclear signals from energy companies about spending make investors nervous, and past project delays weigh on credibility. Here's my feel. Cetrium is the ultimate timing and patience stock. The combined business is stronger, but you need faith in the multi-year offshore energy story. I like the prospects long-term, especially with global demand for energy security rising. But this is strictly a small cyclical allocation, 3 to 5% of a portfolio. Tops. The drop refines the entry point for believers, but it's no place for the faint-hearted. Some reflections on the week? Classic Singapore action. Pockets of strength in old economy names, while overseas tech proxies took blows. What's the signal for me? Be selective. Singapore rewards cash-rich businesses that can thrive despite policy shifts and market noise. For folks using CPF or SRS, stick to dividend stalwarts or niche leaders with solid margins. For traders, time your moves at catalyst moments. Earnings, contracts, regulatory news. What's my key takeaway? Respect the cycle. When commodities rally, planters rise. When healthcare trends normalize, specialty glove makers get paid. Property churn, agencies like PropNext shine. But for China-linked SDRs, keep positions small. Risk sizing matters more than ever. In short, think like a hawker. Pick the stall with the steady cue, not just the flashiest banner. So if you're planning your next move, here's what I'd keep in mind. Be selective, be patient, and always ask, does this fit my real goals? What stocks or themes got your attention this week? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing from you. And if you want deeper dives, early access to all my analyses, and a chance to join our investing community, check out the premium membership. It's just $1 a month, and you'll be the first to get urgent insights, often a week ahead of everyone else. Ready to get ahead? Click below to join the inner circle. And as always, thanks for spending part of your day with me. If you want more practical angles on reading STI data, go check out my video next on how to read STI breadth and sector rotations in 10 minutes. It's packed with simple tips and real examples for Singapore investors.